Good evening, and welcome to tonight's Zoning Board of Appeals hearing. Let me introduce some members of town government that assist this board. To my left is Simone Bogarty, Assistant Town Attorney. To her left is Blaise Donadio, Planner in the Planning Department. You're all here tonight seeking relief from the Smithtown zoning ordinances, and it's our job to try to help you achieve the relief you're requesting whenever possible. It's up to you to provide this board with precise and accurate information so we can make a decision based on the facts presented. This board must consider the 5 area variance considerations in order to render a decision, and they are as follows. Number 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the variance. Number 2, whether the benefits sought by the applicant be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance. Number 3, whether the requested area variance is substantial. Number 4, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. And number 5, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. Procedures for tonight's meeting. Cases will be called in the order they are advertised. When you are called, please present your certificates of postings and mailings to Mr. Donadio. Then you will be asked to go to the podium where you'll state your name and address for the record, and then proceed to tell us why you need your variance. At the end of your presentation, if anyone in the audience would like to speak on your case, they will be given one opportunity to do so. Then the applicant can come back to the podium to answer their concerns. Once the public hearing is closed, no further information will be accepted concerning the case. There are 2 ways to find out about your case. You can call the planning office tomorrow after 12 noon, or you can wait and be notified by mail. We do have one withdrawal tonight. That's case number 18820. 444 Route 111 LLC. That case has been withdrawn. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first case on the agenda, case number 18860, Timothy Hoyt, 6 Glenview Avenue, Fort Salonga. The location of the property is the west side of Glenview Avenue, 125 feet south of Fort Salonga Road. The property is zoned R21. The applicant is requesting variances to permit environmentally sensitive lands to be altered for slopes greater than 15%, for existing retaining walls A and B, to increase the height of a wall and fence in the required front yard from 4 feet to 7 feet for wall A, to increase the height of a wall in the required front yard from 4 feet to 5 feet for wall B, increase the height of a 5-foot fence on top of a 7-foot retaining wall from 4 feet to 12 feet for wall A, increase the height of a 4-foot fence on top of a 5-foot retaining wall from 4 feet to 9 feet for wall B, decrease the minimum setback of a 5-foot fence to a 7-foot retaining wall from 7 feet to 0 for wall B, decrease the minimum setback of a 4-foot fence to a 5-foot retaining wall from 5 feet to 0 feet for wall B, decrease the minimum setback of a 5-foot retaining wall to a 7-foot retaining wall from 7 feet to 0 for walls A and B, decrease the minimum front yard setback from 5 feet to 2 feet for a 5-foot retaining wall for wall B.
Good evening.
Good evening. It's 9. Long story short,
Excuse me, can you just state your name?
I'm sorry, my name is Timothy Hoyt. I reside at 6 Glenview Avenue, Fort Salonga. I'm the owner of the said property and
Thank you.
said retaining wall. My retaining wall that was in place before I bought the property back in 2000 is an ancient CCA wall on the street with significant grade differential, topographical, all throughout the neighborhood bed. It was failing. 2021, the big storm that came through really put a hurt on it. So in the spring, it was luffing. It was subsequently pulling down part of my property and an extension that was added onto my house before my ownership that was really too close to the said 15-degree boundary. So this whole thing is a hill stabilization project. It came down at the street, CCA wall down at the street, and replaced as was existing. Only difference was going from CCA to masonry block. Instead of putting all the load on the one wall at the street, my mason and his planner decided to break into two other tiers to take load at street and subsequently divide it up, holding the hillside back up to the said property that was sloughing. That's kind of my story.
Right.
I didn't realize, ignorance is not an excuse, but I felt by putting right back in line where it was, I was well within any boundary. I am on the line and do encroach on the easement at the lowest wall level. To kick that wall back, the first tier wall back any more would have subsequently caused the other two walls to be much more massive and a much higher cost to what I didn't realize was going to be as much as it was.
Right. We're just talking about wall A and B,
Mm-hmm.
the two secondary walls. We're not talking about the wall in the front.
No, the one wall
Right.
in the front is on the easement, and there is a,
Yeah.
yes, so it's basically all three. Some part of all three walls have an issue inside the code.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Planning?
Just to clarify what you just asked, yes, the variance requests are for the two upper-tier walls, A and B. Wall C, which is in the town right-of-way, obviously, the board cannot grant variances for because it's not on the applicant's property, but the environmental department has a couple of comments about that.
Okay, fine. Anything else in planning?
Just that we received a hold harmless agreement from the applicant, I guess based on what the highway superintendent was looking for. So as far as I know, we're squared away with that.
Okay. Sabrina?
DEW has the following comments. The survey submitted by the applicant indicates that the existing retaining wall, Wall C, encroaches onto the adjacent town right-of-way to the east. The applicant has submitted and executed hold harmless and encroachment agreement to address this encroachment, and therefore we have no more comments regarding this type 2 action.
So this is a type 2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
They were waiting for the whole harmless agreement,
Which we got
okay?
today.
And
If
now
you-
they have.
If you didn't submit it, we couldn't vote tonight.
Okay. I have a copy of it.
Yeah, we have it on record, so you're good. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
That's it, done, approved?
No.
Oh.
We have to,
See, you guys all owe me money for that question, all right?
we have to vote later on.
Thank you for your time.
At the end, we have to go through everything again.
Should I stick around, or don't need to? You'll notify by mail?
Call planning tomorrow after 12.
Thank you, folks.
The next case on the agenda is case number 18861, David Guerin, 74 Fifth Avenue, Kings Park. The location of the property, the west side of Fifth Avenue, 710 feet south of Old Comac Road. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 1 foot for a proposed 240-square-foot second-floor addition to a lawful non-conforming dwelling.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Dave Guerin. I reside at 74 Fifth Avenue in Kings Park. I'm here tonight to request a variance for my house to, for my side yard to reduce the side yard minimum from 12 feet to 1 feet. There's currently an existing structure that's there that was built in roughly the 1950s. I had requested a variance previously for a different project that we decided not to pursue just to the cost of building, and this is what came out of that from my architect. He said that we can go over the existing structure in order to add on an additional bedroom for my future child that's coming. currently, and when we went to planning, we found out that we had to do a variance for the second story, which we didn't know that we had to on that side of the house. We thought we could just go up and it wouldn't be an issue. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to reduce that side yard for everything.
Okay. We were at the house today looking at it. You're really, like you said, only 1 foot off the property line. I noticed on some of the elevations, the second floor elevation facing the neighbor, there's no windows on that side.
No, he didn't add the window there for, there's currently 2 windows on the second story. He just added the front and back one for the egress
Are you going
currently.
to keep it like that?
We were planning on keeping it like this. If we need to add windows on that side, we'd be more than happy to.
All right, so right now, it won't overlook right into your neighbor's.
No, right now, yeah, it's just gonna stay with no windows on that side.
Okay, all right, thank you. Anyone on the board have any questions?
No, thanks.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Nothing. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda, case number 18862, Michael Brown for the estate of Rose Brown. The location of the property is the east side of Lancaster Avenue, 93 feet north of Smithtown Boulevard. The property is zoned NB. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the required buffer yard setback within the side and/or rear yard from 50 feet to 8 feet for a proposed 2,100 square foot, 2-story, single-family dwelling, excuse me, with a 431 square foot attached garage.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Louis Castellano for the applicant. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here on behalf of the client. If you looked at the survey, you'll see that the upper left-hand corner or the northeast corner of the property is zoned residential, and the rest of the property is zoned neighborhood business. So that's where the little variance is required for. The lot size is 120 by 113. We don't have, we feel there's no impact on the neighbors because the lots are similar size on a block. There's no substantial, it's not substantial because it could either be commercial or residential. We're going with the residential portion. It cannot be achieved by any other method because it is what it is. That little piece is residential. There's no environmental impact. We are on the 1981 tax map for the health department approval, and the difficulty was not created yet because the house isn't built yet. If you have any questions?
On the south side, you back up to that repair garage?
Yeah, Bograndi, yes.
Yeah, that's what it
Yes.
is. Okay.
That's why we set the house all the way to the north to keep a buffer there. And we flipped the garage opposite of what your photo is. We flipped the garage to the north so that we'd have less impact on the corner. We've done a similar thing on Mayfair and Smithtown Boulevard years ago. It was neighborhood business. We built the 2 houses on the corner there. Same situation.
All right, thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Yes, sir, I just have a question. Yeah, come on up, please. Could you introduce yourself?
Sure.
Spell your last name so we get it correct on the
Sure.
record, please.
My name is David Allen, Allen. I live at 4 Saddle Lane in St. James, and I'm actually the deeded property owner for 8 Brooks Avenue in Wisconsin, which would be the house behind where they're intending to build.
Okay.
Right? And my question was, just because we just heard about this recently, I wanted to know if it was a rental unit that they were intending to build, and because what it'll do is go from what I understand, 8 feet up to the house where my mother lives, that fence. That would be the back of the house, is that what I'm understanding? Thank you. Okay, the 8 feet,
What's-
okay. So I think actually this gentleman has answered my question.
All right,
My question was just, I was wondering, my understanding was the setback would be to the rear yard, right?
wait 1 second. That's your, sir, is that your question?
Correct.
That's your only question?
Yes,
Okay, fine. Lou, you want to come back and answer him? We have to get everything on the record, sir.
okay, sure.
So what his concern was they would only be an 8-foot rear yard, it's a 33-foot rear yard,
33.
and the side yard is 20 feet.
Yeah.
His house is directly behind us. There's 33 feet to our property line, then his property. So we're okay with that.
So it's 33 feet?
Yes.
Okay? Okay,
Thank you.
all right,
Thank you.
thank you. Could I have a motion to close the application, please?
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried.
The next case on the agenda is case number 18863, Nicholas and Candace Sturts, 17 Galahad Lane, Nesconset. The location of the property is the west side of Galahad Lane, 128 feet south of Prince Charming Road. The property is owned R15. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the total side yards from 34 feet to 27 feet for a proposed 118 square foot first floor addition.
Good evening.
Hi. Candace Sturts, and I'm going to have my architect speak on behalf of me.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Okay. Sir, can you introduce yourself? State your name, spell your last name so we get it correct for the record, and give your address, please.
Robert Miller, Miller.
And your address?
Address 7 Norton Drive, Smithtown.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the house was originally constructed in probably the late 1960s in conformance with the code at that time. By proposing this addition, we'll seek to reduce the total existing side yard setbacks by 3.5 inches. We'll be reducing it from 28.1 to 27.8. In doing so, we'll still maintain the minimum side yard on that side of the property, which is 16 feet. In addition, we did design the north wall of the addition so that it would step in and kind of follow the angle of the property in order to minimize the impact of the addition. While we do understand that this requires a variance, we do consider it a de minimis amount that we're requesting and respectfully request your approval.
It's situated on an odd-shaped piece of property,
Yeah,
which doesn't help at all. Yeah, okay. Anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No.
Planning?
No, thanks.
No. Is there anyone in the audience that could be heard on this application? No? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
The next case on the agenda is case number 18864, Tuttenauer USA Company Limited, 345 Oser Avenue, Hauppauge. The location of the property is the south side of Oser Avenue, 1,512 feet west of Adams Avenue. The property is zoned LI. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum required parking spaces from 100 to 74 for a change of use from warehouse for 8,379 square feet of proposed office space.
Good evening.
Good evening. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Victor Emanuelo, E-M-A-N-U-E-L-O. My office is at 500 Bi-County Boulevard, Suite 204 in Farmingdale, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant. Also here tonight for the application is the president of the company, Guy Lerner, and then the architect is Arnold Montag, and they're here and can address the board as well if need be.
Okay, fine.
So we're here tonight seeking a variance from the non-residential parking requirements contained in Section 322-62 of the town's building zone ordinance. As the application states on its face, the requirement is 100 spaces, and we're asking for a reduction in the required parking to 74 spaces. The application speaks for itself, but I would like to give the board a brief some information about the company. Tuttenauer USA Company Limited has been at 25 Power Drive in Hauppauge since the year 2000. The company manufactures sterilization and infection control equipment for medical, industrial, and laboratory uses. It has a worldwide network of over 200 distributors and a presence on 5 continents. The move to the new building that's the subject of this application will allow the company more room to grow because the building has a greater ceiling height, and so additional racking can be made above the current space in the other building is under 20 feet. This building is 24 feet. In addition, the move in this new building, there's more open floor space, which would allow the applicant to increase the office area as indicated on the plan that's been provided to the board. What that does is create a more desirable office layout and display facility for the company in the new building. The subject parcel is about 1.6 acres. It houses a building of approximately 31,000 square feet. The existing parking configuration at present shows only 64 spaces pursuant to the terms of a previous variance granted by this board in 2012. So what we're doing is reconfiguring the spaces on the site, looking at the application, at the site plan. There are new spaces added. 10 spaces are added along one of the walls of the building to bring the number from what's there now, which is 64 spaces, to the 74 that will be there once the building is occupied. Beyond that, the application does speak for itself. If there are any questions from any members of the board that I can answer or the other gentleman can, we're happy to entertain them.
I do have one question. How many employees do you have at one time?
There are 37 employees of the company. 3 or 4 are generally traveling remote. On the premises at any one time, there's generally no more than 30 people. Not everyone drives to the site. So what's there now is more than adequate for this company's use.
And the front office is just one shift? Yes. Not double shift?
Yes, just one shift.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else on the board have any questions?
No, thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? You have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second. Motion has been made to motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good night.
The next case on the agenda, case number 18865, Nicholas D'Onofrio, 3 Jill Drive, Comac. The location of the property is the east side of Jill Drive, 88 feet north of Witchard Boulevard. The property is owned R21CL. The applicant is requesting variances to increase the height of a 4-foot fence on top of a 4-foot retaining wall from 6 feet to 8 feet, to decrease the setback of an existing 4-foot retaining wall from 4 feet to 0, to decrease the minimum setback of a proposed 4-foot fence from an existing 4-foot retaining wall from 4 feet to 0, to increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the rear yard from 25% to 52%, to increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the front yard from 25% to 56%.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Nicholas D'Onofrio. I live at 3 Jill Drive in Comac. And with the board's permission, I'd like to yield the podium to my son, Joseph D'Onofrio.
Fine. Good evening.
Good evening. Joseph D'Onofrio, 3 Jill Drive, Comac, New York. Basically what we did was there was a 4-foot timber wall surrounding the pool area there, and we replaced it with a 4-foot concrete wall. The timber wall was failing all over. It was there probably since the 70s. So we replaced it with what's going to be a nicer looking concrete wall. The surrounding area of the pool, we're going to try to put some pavers there. And the fence that we would like to put up is going to be on top of that 4-foot area. The retaining wall and the elevation of the pool is exactly where the retaining wall is. So my understanding is that you have to put a fence around the pool for safety reasons, I believe. And so that's all that we would be doing, is just putting a fence around the pool area there. If it's 4 feet, I'm sure is the minimum, right?
The concrete wall that you poured, okay? That's on your property,
Correct.
right? And the neighbors in the back of it, or is that just, I'm a little confused where that wall is.
That wall is on our property. If you go to the survey, you could see it. It's like an L-shaped wall.
What's in back of it?
On the back of the pool
No, back of the wall.
is the pool area. So the front face
Okay.
coming down is the retaining wall, and then it curves, then it makes an L to the back of the property, which is where the neighbor is,
Okay. All right.
which used to be a timber wall.
So the 4-foot fence that goes on top of that wall will face the neighbor?
No, it will face the side neighbor, and then the front of it would face the back of our house.
Yes.
The back fence, currently, we don't have one. Our neighbor has a back fence that's there already.
That's that wooden fence?
No, it is a chain link fence that's in the back of it.
And so the neighbor's going to be looking at that retaining wall?
The neighbor will see the corner of that retaining wall.
What is your intention to do with the face of that wall?
To put the stacked stone on
On all the way around, even the side that faces the neighbor?
the whole thing, yeah.
Okay.
The part that faces the neighbor is 12 inches that they see, because it's just they see that part.
What do you mean?
Because it's a 12-inch thick wall,
Mhm.
so that they see the 12 inches of the.
Well, they'll see the face of it also.
No, they won't see the face of it.
Your property's going to be higher than the neighbor?
The neighbor's property is higher than ours.
Oh.
It's a slope. It grades up from.
Okay, so you're going to grade into the new wall?
Yeah, well, it's existing right now at this point, but if you can see, I should have took a picture of the back of the property. But basically, this concrete here is, oh, there you go. So you see how they're higher than we are.
Okay, thank you.
Planning?
I just have two questions, if you don't mind.
Yep.
It doesn't appear to me that the concrete wall actually retains any soil. I don't know if that's correct or not. Are you doing any regrading in the backyard that's going to partly cover that wall? Or is that wall merely just a decorative wall?
That wall is retaining the pool area. The pool area is 4 feet above grade.
So behind that 4-foot concrete wall, the pool area is actually elevated 4 feet?
Correct. Yeah, it's so if this is where our house is, you go 4 feet up, and now the pool area is 4 feet above where the house is. So you got to
Okay.
walk up to the pool area.
So the 4-foot fence on top of the wall is actually at the same grade as the
As the
pool
back of it.
area?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Now it makes sense.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
All right, anything else?
That was it?
No? Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Come on up, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Board. My name is Don Moeller. I live at 59 Witchard Boulevard. That's going to be, the picture they just showed you, that's actually my property line, where you see I'm elevated above them. When I was made aware of the variance, I'm not trying to cause a problem, but the way I read it, it almost sounded like against my back, or that back fence, which is mine, they wanted to put a 4-foot retaining wall 2-0 on the property line, and then an 8-foot fence on top of that. Is that correct? Okay, then we have no issue. That was my main concern, because it sounded like 12 feet of wall would be problematic.
Right.
Okay.
The way it was written, it's a little confusing.
It was a little, that's the only reason I'm here.
Right.
Okay, so if for clarification from these guys or from the board, if they could just tell me what they're doing in the back, I have no issues.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Anyone else? No. Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second?
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Thank you. Have a nice evening. And case number 18820, 444 Route 111 LLC, that has been withdrawn. And that concludes our meeting for tonight.